So the disadvantage of building the half-sized prototype roof is that now I can't really remember where I am exactly in explaining this design. I'd just finished making the curved MDF ceiling board sheets that you can see behind me, and next I was on to replicating that jigsaw carcass layer to give me space for insulation. This meant making a handful of these 6-meter studs turned purlins, and even though they aren't going to be exterior, I gave them a coat of oil. This is the Osmo oil I bought without realizing it had a dark tint, if you can remember that far back. But in a beautiful turn of events, it was perfect for this job, making the whole roof structure look way more uniform and giving the timbers some insect and mold protection. If you've noticed, I've only put the final coat of paint on one of the MDF panels. It's a water-based exterior paint in anthracite grey. Picking the MDF sheets up and moving them around flexes them enough to cause these micro cracks in the primer, and as I'm trying to make these as water resistant as possible, I chose to wait until the sheets were fixed in their final shapes before applying the remaining 2 coats of grey. I also wanted to check out how well the glue sticks to the exterior paint, so I did a little test piece, and the grooves I cut in the MDF here obviously give it an unfair advantage, but it did stick extremely well, so it's good stuff. I think that'll hold. To be honest, I expected more comments in the last video criticising me for using MDF in a roof, but it seems we're all on the same page. If this goes wrong, then that's useful information to have. I've done everything possible to ensure it works, so it would mean we can cross that idea out completely, and I'll just rebuild it with a different approach. If it goes right, then I've saved myself a lot of work machining up ceiling boards and a lot of money. Only time will tell, no one knows for certain, and this is the guinea pig. It's going to be very interesting to know exactly how much this shepherd's hut weighs, particularly as it needs to be transported 300 miles, and the only way to get that information is to weigh everything individually. This plywood stud timber carcass came in at around 100 kilograms, and the MDF sheets were another 100 kilograms. So without the insulation or corrugated metal sheets, the roof is already 200 kilograms. It's going to be heavy, but remember, I have 6 of the strongest roof beams ever built underneath. So this is the screw that's going to go all the way through here and fix into the curved oak roof beams. And it is 6 by 140 and it's stainless steel, and I'm going to pre-drill the holes in these studs because it's going to be a lot easier here than when it's all assembled and curved. I was going to glue these studs to the MDF, which is why the bottom faces hadn't been oiled. And now, looking back, pre-drilling these holes was such a good idea because it really saved my skin. I was about to do the longest, largest, hardest glue up of my life with twists and turns that I did not anticipate. Getting all the joints together wasn't too difficult. I'd done a dry fit before gluing, and everything was carefully numbered to go back in the same order. The fact it's a curved structure means that the joints don't just slide in together, but have to be persuaded in gradually at the same time. But because I'd doubled up the plywood curves, I was pretty confident they were strong enough to be hammered on so aggressively. You can see there's a small gap under the plywood curves. This is kind of by design and makes the structure a lot easier to build. But it's only possible because I'm using the large MDF boards, which are wide enough that I can fix them to the studs. If I was using narrow ceiling boards, then they would be running parallel to the studs and would need fixing to the underside of the plywood curves instead. So the plywood would then have to be flush with the bottom of the stud. This design is much simpler and easier to build. So you want to put it like 10 mil, 100 mil here, this corner. 4830, 4820. Four, 825. 4823. That's good. I then fixed some eyelets so I could use ratchet straps to square up the carcass. However, eventually I decided against it as it fit better at the ends with a slight twist in. The reason I'm pushing down on these joints with all my weight is because I was using the wrong screws. It was a late night purchase and I ordered full thread stainless steel screws instead of half threads, which pull the joint tight for you. Full thread just kind of keeps the joint in the position it's already in, which is why I had to ensure the joints were fully seated before screwing. You may notice these end plywood curves are triple laminated, and this time I did order the screws correctly. These are partially threaded, 140mm stainless, and they are a dream. Pulling the butt joints up beautifully to get that squeeze out. I enjoyed myself a lot sinking these bad boys. When you can sense a structure that you've been working on for weeks becoming more rigid with each screw, it's quite a special feeling. 42 half laps and 14 butt joints in a space of 2 hours, transforming all these long wobbly bits of timber into a solid structure with immense characteristics. I want to thank everyone who's bought a chore jacket recently, and for those of you who've left reviews. Christmas is now upon us, and this is the last video where I can pretty much guarantee delivery for Americans and the rest of the world. UK and EU people, you have a bit more time if you want to get it by Christmas. I'm going to run out of large and extra large first, so be quick if that's you. And to convince you they're a good purchase, I'm just going to show the most charming review I've seen at the end of the video. Thanks for watching.
Solid.